Mike Reagan from Relevate. Well, we're going to be talking about efficiencies and how to apply that to your real estate business. And Mike did that at a high level for his entire company. We're going to be jumping into that. Welcome, Mike.
Well, thanks for having me on your show, Joe. I mean, to me, Joe Rogan, Joe Arno, to me,
I think I had the haircut first, though.
Yeah, I think so. Well, you look better in it, too, I think.
Thanks for coming on. You know, you were one of the first people I contacted in Raleigh in the market, even before we moved down here, because I was attracted to the way you run your business. And efficiencies are to the level that you brought them to this company, this model is pretty high. And I'd love you to dig into, first of all, what's your background and your background in efficiency?
Yeah, for some reason, I just think the idea of process improvement is really cool. And I worked at Kodak in Rochester, and that was my job there. I ran a department where we improved making experimental film. It used to take 3 days. We made it take 10 hours. We improved the quality of it, and that helped us with developing new films. That's back when there was something called film.
Right.
So Kodak sort of slowed down, and I moved down here. And I started a consulting firm doing process improvement consulting. And basically, it's an engineering discipline. You're figuring out how to work smarter, not harder. So you're going into companies and you're using some engineering and math and flow charts and analysis to figure out for any part of a business, how can you do it faster, higher quality, lower costs. And I just thought it was really interesting. I really enjoyed doing that. I wrote a couple of books that are on Amazon still. I don't own the rights to them anymore. I sold the companies, but they're on Amazon under my name. They did well, and my company did well as a consulting firm. The only reason I stopped doing it is because I had to travel a lot. Because when you're a consultant, if you want to not be poor, you have to travel because you can't really count on having enough clients in your local area to keep you busy. So you travel a lot. And I have a wife I liked and 2 kids I liked this 20 years ago, and they were young. I still like them all. I wanted to be home with them. And so that's why I got into real estate.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. Knowing the real estate business, most people don't get into it to work less, or they might. Most of them end up working a lot more. And I do believe that was your experience in the beginning as well.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind working more. I just wanted to go home at night instead of a hotel room. And When I first started in real estate, it was a different industry than I was used to, and it was hard. It was really hard to get started. It was very frustrating because I felt like I was the right person. I felt like I was professional. I was certainly willing to work hard. Felt like I could speak clearly and communicate and have the client's best interest in mind. But man, the first 6 months were really hard. I had no idea how to find clients. I did all the stuff when they're in the business wanting more clients and how to find them because I didn't know. I mean, Joe, I was driving around putting pieces of paper in people's mailboxes. I did cold calling. I made a TV commercial. Guess how much business I got from that? Zero.
No.
Cable TV.
Yeah.
Man, Joe, I bought leads. I did everything. And I only sold 3 houses in my first 6 months.
Right.
And then I was very blessed to stumble onto Brian Buffini's coaching. And he taught me a system, a way of getting clients in real estate. And when I ran into him and his system and his coaching, I was like, my gosh, I can do real estate this way. I mean, I can use this process and I can get clients. And I thought, my gosh, if I could do this, if I could work by referral, that would be so much more fun. And I would actually enjoy this. And it worked. I mean, I sold 21 houses my next 6 months because of that.
Did you have, now knowing the business, working by referral, you have to have a good database. You have to know a lot of people. Did you have that base of people in the Raleigh market?
Yeah, I think I was blessed that I did know a decent number of people. And the other part that was good is that they knew me as a consultant, like as a professional person. So when I went and talked to people, hey, I'm doing real estate now, they gave me a lot of credit for potentially being able to be good at it. And as opposed to somebody coming from a completely different industry. Yeah. Or I know a woman who was a stay-at-home mom before she got into the business. And the first 100 people she talked to, none of them referred her because they couldn't get out of their mind seeing her as a stay-at-home mom instead of a real estate agent. So I was blessed in that way to some extent. But Joe, I'll tell you, like, I would say half to 2/3 of my business might have come from people I didn't know before I got into real estate because I was able to introduce myself to them as only a real estate agent and they didn't have any confusion about who I was. And so that was my identity in their eyes. So I find that a lot of agents, when they start, even if they know a lot of people, sometimes those people don't refer them because those people can't get out of their minds what the person used to be.
Right.
right? And see them as the new person. So for a lot of people, it's the newer people that are going to refer you more. Some people think, well, how can they refer you if you've never helped them buy or sell a house? But to tell you the truth, if you make a good impression, they don't have to have used your services before. You just have to make a good impression and give them a reason to trust you. And that's very possible to do. You can build a good business with people you've never worked with before, for sure.
And it's not necessarily those people that you're talking to that you're going to be doing business with. It might be somebody they know, could be their cousin.
Well, right. I mean, the way of doing business by referral, the way Brian Buffini taught me, is that you're not trying to get your sphere of influence to buy or sell a house. You're trying to get them to sell you to the people they know. And the great thing about this is they know a lot more people that you don't know, number one. So you're expanding your reach quite a bit. And number two, they're a heck of a lot better at selling you than you are. Right? Because if you try to sell yourself, there's perceived self-interest involved, right? You're just doing it for the money, or you're saying great things about yourself because you're trying to sell yourself and you want money. If somebody else sells you, it's way more effective because they're putting their name to you. They're putting their reputation on the line to refer you. And so really what they're doing is they're transferring the trust they have in you to another person. And that way, when you start talking to that person, they already trust you. Right? Yeah. There's so much less selling involved. So now if the people in your SOI directly need to buy or sell, they can certainly come to you and say, hey, I need to buy or sell. And you're certainly going to help them. But the idea is more to get them to be what we call, a lot of people call it SOI. Here at Relevate, we call it your sales team. So we don't want our agents to think of themselves as salespeople at all. We want them to think of themselves as people who lead a team of people, their database, we call it a sales team, and those people sell the agent on their behalf. Just a much better way to do business. And so, like I said, I sold 21 my second 6 months, so 24 my first year. Funny story, I won't say the name of the company or my broker in charge, but when I left, because I wanted to go start my own company so I could do process improvement and kind of control the process, and because I started seeing opportunities to improve the real estate process. When I left, my broker in charge told me I was going to be a failure because I didn't have that company, that brand anymore. And she took all my production and put it all under her name. So I didn't even get credit for my 24.
Wow.
So if you look at MLS, I've got 711 transactions in there. So I think my total is 735. Sorry, it's easy math. But only 711 are in there because the first 24 got ripped from me.
Wow. That's good business doing that.
It's traumatic, Joe. It's traumatic.
Yeah.
Traumatic.
So when you look at your business, you were working a lot of hours to do 20.
Yeah, I was.
That's a lot of work.
And you've kind of led me into another story. So my second year, I sold 32 homes. And I remember halfway through that second year, I said to another agent in my office, I said, I hope I don't get any more referrals today. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, yeah, I feel like I'm going to drop a ball here. And, people had referred me because they trusted me. And here they trust me, and then I'm going to drop a ball on them, right? And I would feel just so horrible about being trusted and then letting the person down. And so that was not something I wanted to do. I didn't want to let anybody down. And, obviously if I let somebody down too, they're never going to refer me again. But it was more like I couldn't live with myself to be trusted and then not be worthy of that trust. And so that's when we started thinking a lot more about some of the other systems we developed here at Relevate in order to help people scale, right? So many agents out there just like, gosh, I just need clients. But if you do it right, there comes a time when you're going to hopefully get really busy. And you don't want to hit that ceiling, right? Of you can only handle as much as you can handle by yourself. So we felt like we needed more systems to help agents to scale up their business. And that's when the process improvement thinking from the past really kicked in, because I started thinking, okay, there's got to be a way to solve this. How can we set up systems so that we can help agents get busy in the first place, right? So we took the stuff I learned from Buffini, very similar to Ninja, right? Good stuff. Or is it Michael Martin, the 7 levels? So very similar stuff, really good stuff. And we systematized it. So we had to come up with our own CRM because there wasn't a good CRM out there for doing business this way. All the CRMs out there seem to be just places to dump all your Zillow leads in and drip email people. We didn't want that. We wanted a CRM that was good for building relationships. So as of now, we've spent $785,000 on this thing. We call it Relevate CRM. And it's a CRM built just for building relationships and doing business by referral. And it tracks a lot of other things that I can get into that are necessary for our business. But we also, to help our agents get more clients, we notice another thing, and this is another thing that I ran into, is that every agent I've ever talked to, when they get busy, they don't have time to consistently market, right? We started every October, we would get all our agents together and get their ideas about what kind of marketing would you like to send to your sales team? And then we take all that and kind of get to a consensus, and we come up with a marketing campaign for every month for the next year. We plan a year ahead. And those marketing campaigns would have to be planned for every month, because you really have to touch people once a month if you want them to remember you and refer you, right?
Absolutely.
But the marketing campaigns had to be very professional. They had to be designed very well. We got to have all the text and the content really good. We've got to mix it up. Some of it's got to be sort of more real estate related. Some's got to be more like a strawberry picking or Mother's Day. We got to mix up character and competence, right? It's got to be something that the agents feel like is nice, that their clients would like to receive and feel like they've been given something, to make it comfortable for the agent to call and check in and say, hey, remember, I'm out here. Remember to refer me, right?
Right.
And if you haven't given something to somebody, it can make you feel a little bit like a taker to be always asking, right? And finally, we want the marketing to create a sense of reciprocity, where the people who have received these marketing pieces feel like they've been given some really nice stuff, right? Not super expensive, but just thoughtful, nice stuff, right? Being invited to things, so that in the end, they're going to think, gosh, you know what? I really owe this agent a referral, right? So we want the marketing to create all that. So hopefully you use the concepts of how to work by referral effectively. That is, how to get your sales team to recommend you to their friends and family and coworkers and neighbors. Then you have the marketing that reminds you. You start getting a lot of clients coming in. Well, now you got to be able to handle that business, right?
Yeah. So one of the challenges is it's not only the marketing piece I see agents bump into. They get busy, they slow down, they start marketing, you start doing that.
The roller coaster real estate business, yes.
And the other piece that gets in the way is the paperwork. And too many times the agent feels as though that is part of their value, that is what they're being hired to do, to make sure that they somehow add value when they're clicking on the computer or
Joe, let me say this. I think that there's some misnomers in the real estate community that make us be perceived as not as professional as we should be, right? So there's surveys out there of the general population and what they think of various professions. And unfortunately, real estate agents are near the bottom, near car salesmen, right? And I think there's a number of reasons why that's the case. A couple of reasons I'll say. One is we negotiate our price, right? Think about other professions. Do doctors negotiate their price? Do dentists negotiate their price? Joe, you don't even know what their price is until you get to the checkout counter, right? They don't even bother telling you. It's just what it is, right? But you trust the person and you're going to pay what you got to pay, right? A CPA that does your taxes, they don't negotiate the price. It is what it is, right?
That's right.
A lawyer, when you get charged with murder, Joe, I'm not going to tell anybody that story, but when you get charged with murder and you need a good attorney to represent you, the price is the price, right? Real estate agents, we negotiate our price. And when you do that, when you say, I might be able to do it for less, they're like, well, shoot, I'm glad I asked, because I was going to get ripped off otherwise, right? I mean, it's just very unprofessional. We got to stop doing that. Stop negotiating your price. It makes you look extremely unprofessional. Right. Another thing is we present all the time. We go and we have a presentation at our listing, or we present to a buyer. Here's why you should use us. When you go to a doctor, do they make a presentation of their? No. Do dentists, do CPAs, do lawyers? None of them make a presentation. What they do is they find out what's wrong and they fix it. Right. So another thing, when you go into a listing, the last thing you need to do is be making a presentation. Go in there and find out they need to sell their house. What is important to them? What past experiences have they had selling their house? Right? You don't need to be doing all these presentations. And finally, the third thing I think that a lot of agents do that is perceived as not professional is they think they got to do everything themselves, right? Again, doctor, dentist, CPA, lawyer, do any of them do everything themselves? No, there's such a thing as nurses and physician's assistants and receptionists, and there's dental hygienists, and there's CPAs have bookkeepers that do all the entry and everything. The CPA just looks at it and talks strategically about how to save you taxes, right? The lawyer has paralegals, right? The paralegals do the research and the paperwork, and then the attorney stands up in court and represents you, right? So in all those other professions, the professional is doing only what they can do. They only do what only they can do. And the rest of everything else is set up to help them do that. Like, let's think about a dentist, right? So many agents, they'll say, oh, I'm going to use a transaction coordinator. Well, a transaction coordinator is sort of like the people at the front desk that take your credit card on the way out of the dentist. That's like, here's how long the process is. The transaction coordinator at the dentist, right? Same thing as what we tried. They help you about that much of the process, the very end. Let me ask you, if a dentist, if they had the people at the front desk taking their credit card at the end, or maybe setting up your next appointment, saying hi to you on the way in, that's sort of the amount a transaction coordinator does for you. Yeah. If that's all a dentist had, and they had to do all the teeth cleaning, how many patients would they be able to see a day?
Not enough.
Not very many. They maybe see 6 or 7, and they'd be pooped. They'd be tired out, and they'd be doing a lot of work that's maybe not the work that is their specialty and what they enjoy the most, right? That's why they have dental hygienists to take off a lot more of the work from them so they can focus on what only they can do. And now they can see 40 or 50 patients a day.
That's right.
That's how you run a real business. And so that's how we run it here, is that we give you not transaction coordinators. And I'm not trying to sell Relevate. I mean, we're just talking different ways to run a real estate business, right? But if you buy the whole idea of if you're a professional, you shouldn't do everything yourself. It's the same thing in real estate. You just need to introduce it to the client correctly in the beginning. So when a client comes in, so Joe, let's say you're a buyer, right? So reach your hand out and shake my hand. Hey, Joe, good to meet you. I'm really glad that Sam introduced us. Sam's trust means an awful lot to me. And I want to take care of you and help you find a house and be there for you before, during, and after the transaction, so that when we're done, you're going to want to refer me to all your friends and family and coworkers and neighbors. Is that fair?
Sounds fair.
Yeah, Joe says that sounds fair. Joe, let me introduce you to Kelly over here. Kelly is my client service manager. She's sitting right next to us here. And Kelly is a fully licensed agent. She knows as much about real estate as I do, and I'm not handing you off to her, Joe. Kelly's going to help me to help you. Because what we found with clients in the past is that a lot of them had an agent previously that was just too busy for them. And when they missed out on seeing some good houses, or when they had a question, they had to wait 3 or 4 days to get the answer. We just don't want that to happen to any of our clients, which is why we've been proactive to put together a team to help you so that you've got 2 for the price of 1. Nice. As long as you introduce that in the right way in the beginning, the client's like, yeah, that makes complete sense, right? So they love it. And actually, when you do that, when they know you're not going to do everything yourself, their esteem of you, their perception of you as a professional increases, right? But you have to be there to do your part. When it's time to do the dentist work, when it's time to be the doctor, you got to do it. Like, so if I go to the dentist and everything goes perfect, how much am I going to see that dentist? 5 minutes at the end, right? They're going to look at the x-ray and say, hey, your teeth looks good. Let's get your next appointment, because the dentist is taking care of me with a bunch of really good people and really good processes and systems, right? Now, if I have a cavity, the dentist better show up and help me with that cavity, right? Or if I need to have a tooth pulled. And as long as you know the dentist is there to do the dentist part, and the dentist is overseeing everything, the dentist is making sure that the system and the people are taking care of you, they don't need to be there the whole time. They just need to be there and check in along the way. Like a doctor going through a hospital doing rounds. Right? How much time do they take with each patient? Well, if everything's going smooth, not much.
Minutes.
But the doctor is there. The doctor hopefully has good side manner and shows how much he or she cares for the patient. But the patient knows the doctor is going to be there if things need to happen, or during surgery, the doctor is going to be there and do the surgery. Doesn't mean the doctor's got to be there and empty the bedpans and give the patient the prescriptions and, wake them up every 2 hours. The worst thing that happens at a hospital, you can't sleep, right? The doctor's going to have to do all that. But the doctor is the person who is trusted, right?
And one of the things that I think is evident in the way you're telling the story is in relating all your methodology, preparedness is huge. From everything that you said, from the conversation you had when you're trying to build a trust with your person that you already know, to send them referrals, practiced, prepared. Yeah, sitting down with your potential seller, you know what you're saying. You're prepared. The agents are prepared. There are too many agents out there that go in and wing it. There's the know what to say before you actually have to say it is huge. And I think what you're doing is prepare. You're prepared, and your agents are prepared. When they go in and they're in any situation, they know what to say.
Yeah, I think in general, we real estate agents are taking things too casually. If it is the way we dress, being a few minutes late and thinking that's okay, not being fully prepared for the conversation, not having done your research, it's just not professional. And there are a lot of really, really professional agents out there, and there's some that aren't. And unfortunately, the ones that aren't can make the rest of us look a little bad. I think to be successful in real estate, you have to be the right person and you have to have the right system. And being the right person, there's those professional characteristics, right? And it's being on time, it's doing what you say you're going to do, it's being able to present yourself professionally, and being prepared is certainly one of those really big ones, right? Yeah, I think there's some agents that don't have the right professional characteristics, the kind of things I just mentioned, and they really got to work on that, or they should maybe get out of the profession. But there's an awful lot of agents that have every professional characteristic in the world, and they're doing well, but maybe, they don't have the right system. And so they're missing a lot of work-life balance, or missing time with their family. And there are smarter ways to do it so that you can earn a lot and have time with your family.
What about the agent that doesn't have a strong sphere of influence or sales team, and that they're new to the area, or they've just been staying at home for a long time and they don't have a big sphere of influence?
Yeah, Joe, I have to say that I think that if you're going to compare doing business by referral, and what I mean by that is having a community of people, a sphere of influence, people that know, like, and trust you, that you're going to teach them and educate them how to recommend you to their friends and family and coworkers and neighbors. That's what I mean by doing business by referral. When you do business that way, you're going to close probably 1 out of every 2 leads. So the conversion ratio is very high. You're not paying for the leads, right?
Right.
There's not a lot of selling involved. So it's a really efficient way to do business. All the other ways to get clients out there, in some way, you're paying an awful lot more for them in terms of your time and your money. Maybe it's a huge commission split you're paying. I know it's not unusual for companies that give their agents Zillow leads for the agents to get 30% of the total commission. So it's pretty low. And you're also having to talk to 30 or 40 people to get one closing.
Right.
So I honestly think that any other way to do real estate except for doing business by referral is just a pretty miserable life, and you never can get ahead. You're working so hard to convert those leads that convert at a low rate, and you're not even getting paid very much for it. It seems upfront like it's a good deal to have somebody giving you leads. But in the end, I will say this. I think if you had 2 people, the same person with those professional characteristics, you put one of them having to build an SOI from scratch, their sales team, that we call it. Another person, they go to a company where they're getting leads. They're both going to work very hard. I think they're both going to get their closing at the same time, their first closing.
Okay.
The person over getting leads is going to get a lot of leads. Doesn't mean they're going to get a closing right away.
They're busy.
They're going to work very, 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 very hard to convert those leads. And then you have a person over here who doesn't get near as many leads. They're building their sphere of influence, but they only need 2 to get one closing. So I think those people are going to both get their first closing at the same time, right? But this person over here that's building their sphere of influence is going to get paid a lot more for that closing. And here's the thing, Joe, this person over here is on a hamster wheel. In most cases, they don't even own those clients. Legally, those clients are owned by the team leader or the company, right? If they leave, they can't really bring them with them, right? This person over here is building an asset. They're working very hard. There's no doubt about it. It's hard, but it's doable hard. But you're building something for yourself. You're building something for your future, something that you own that you can take with you if you want to, right?
I can generate my own leads. I can generate my own leads with my TikTok channel.
There you go. I tell people all the time that if you're not going to do business by referral from your sphere of influence, from a community of people, I tell them you ought to think about not being in real estate, because your real estate life is going to be miserable, and you can hang in there for a while, but you're just never really going to be able to get ahead because you're not building an asset for yourself. You're working to make somebody else wealthy, and you're building an asset for them. I want you to build an asset for yourself.
It's almost like paying rent or buying your own home.
Yeah,
right?
All as realtors should know, it's better to own your own home. That's a great analogy, Joe, for sure. So it's a great analogy. So you were asking about I think you said something about agents doing everything for themselves versus thinking they need to do everything. So my point was that you don't have to do everything. But I have agents all the time saying, well, if I don't do the showings, how can I have a relationship with them? Well, that's like saying, if I don't clean the teeth, how can I be the dentist?
That's right.
That's just not how it works. It's not how. You don't have to do the showings to build a relationship. If you like doing showings, then you should do showings, right? But you have to realize that by doing that, there's an opportunity cost where you're not spending that same time building your business. And so you can do what you enjoy, showing houses. I think that's great. Nothing wrong with it. It's a wonderful thing. It's just you have to choose where you want to spend your time and understand the cost benefit of where you spend your time. So if you're one of those few people, and I think maybe 2% of people in the world want to sell, They want to go out there and ask for business. They have the perseverance to do it. They might not love every minute of it, but they're willing to go out there and put themselves on the line to ask for business and risk being rejected, which, or their best friend sells their house with somebody else too.
Right.
It's horrible. It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
And there's 2% of people that are willing to go through that. But as Henry Ford said, nothing happens till someone sells something. So we need people that want to. If you're one of those people willing to do that, your job as a brokerage owner is to take everything else off that person's plate so they can do the things that only they can do, which is the building of relationships, which is staying in touch with people. Because that's if you're a great agent, you need to serve more people, because everyone you don't serve because you're too busy, they're gonna go use Zillow and they're not gonna get the best agent doing that, right? If you're convinced that you're the best choice for people out there, well, then get some stuff off your plate so you can help more people, right? Thank God my dentist is just a fan. Dr. Sonner at Renaissance Dental. Jill has people you're ever going to meet. Thank God that she's got help, because if she didn't, she wouldn't be able to help me.
That's right.
She's great, and I'm glad she can help me, but she wouldn't have time for me otherwise. I wouldn't have got in there, and I'm glad that she's my dentist. I'm really grateful for her. So that's why brokerage has got to give you help, so you don't have to go out and hire and train and supervise people by yourself, because it's really, really hard to do. It's so hard to find the level of people that we've been blessed to find here. And we went through a lot of people to find the ones that we have that are so reliable and such just amazing people that our agents have to work with.
What is a life like for an agent that's producing, doing 10 million in production a year? What's their life like? Plugged in, and at Relevate, when they're plugged into your system, what's their life like?
Yeah, so let me cover one more facet that explains part of that answer to that. So there's 4 things that we're doing differently that we think solve 4 challenges that every agent has. Every agent needs a good quality, a predictable stream of high quality clients. That's doing business by referral. They need help with marketing when they're busy. We do the marketing, we pay for the marketing. Number 4, we're going to skip 3 for now. Number 4 is the client service managers. These are the licensed people that we train very highly, that are there to do showings and searches and so forth, to take a lot of work off the agent. Thank God for the high quality people that are here with us, and we're loyal to them. They're loyal to us. The third thing that I skipped, we focus a lot on listings. Selling houses is a really big, important part of being a real estate agent. And the NAR survey said that what sellers want, no surprise, they want to sell their house quickly, right? And they want to make the most money they can from selling that house. I don't know why, but real estate brokerages have not spent any time or effort working on how to sell houses quickly and for more money. I don't know of any research and development that any real estate company has done. That's what the clients want. The clients want to sell their house quickly and for the most money. That's a process improvement problem, right?
Well, they leave it to the agent to figure it out. Every agent
agents are very smart, and a lot of agents do a good job with it. But if the brokerage understands that the sellers want it, why aren't they assisting the agents to do that better, right? With maybe more support and more better processes and so forth. So we've really focused a lot on how to sell houses faster. And you break apart the process of selling a house, you make it into a flow chart, you analyze every part of it, and what do you need to do to deliver that for your sellers? So we have a part of our company called the Listing Success Team, that when an agent gets a listing, they just partner up with the Listing Success Team. The Listing Success Team does most of the work on the agent's behalf, making the agent look really good, saving them a lot of time, and also getting that house sold quickly. So over the past 15 years, we have had the lowest days on market in the entire triangle among all leading firms with over 150 listings a year that they sell. And when our agents go to a listing appointment, they bring that data with them and they say, hey, look, I know you want to sell your house quickly and you want to sell it for the most money. Here's the data that shows that we do this. And so it's kind of hard to argue with that. And we even say, hey, look, any other agent you interview, ask them for the data and compare it. So our agents get almost every listing they go on, which is great. They get good commission for it. They don't have to discount their commission below what our standard is. Obviously, there is no standard in real estate, but we have a standard and they don't have the discount from them. When they get the listing, they sell it quickly. So low stress, especially in this market right here. I think our average right now is 16.2 days and the market average is 46.
Wow.
But best of all, after they sell the property, there's a rider that goes on the sold sign, and the rider says sold in 5 days, sold in 11 days, sold in 4 days, whatever it is. Guess who gets the rest of the listings in that neighborhood, Joe? Yeah, the other people who want to sell see that, and they call the agent and say, hey, you sold a house in my neighborhood. I want you to come sell mine. I've got a picture, Joe. I should have brought it with me to show you in Glenwood North. where there's 4 houses in a row. I had my sign in front of 3 out of the 4, and there were
Nice.
2 more around the corner, all from the one, and then the other one. They started calling me. Lots of examples of that. So when you have a good way to get clients, when you have the marketing covered, when you're selling houses quickly, you start getting very busy. And now we need to get you unbusy. And that's what the client service managers are for, and what the listing success team is for. So this is going to sound crazy, but maybe it'll make sense now that I've described what I've described. My busiest year, I sold 88 houses, and I did it in 15 hours a week, which sounds crazy, but I've explained to you. Now, look, this was after 6 years or 7 years of me building my sales team and having people that trusted me. So I didn't have to work so hard to get them to refer me. So that's where the volume of the transactions came from. And I was able to do it in 15 hours a week because I had great systems and great support. And I got rated 10 out of 10 for my clients because they knew I was taking care of them. I just wasn't doing it all myself, but I was taking care of them with a really good system. And I was there, Joe, in the beginning to do the orientation. I checked in with them every single week, or more often when necessary. I did the negotiating for them. They knew that when the dentist was going to be there, right? When they needed surgery, the doctor was going to show up. And it gave me a very good financial life, and it gave me a good family life and a good life of being in control of my time. So to break down that 15 hours a week, 10 hours a week was me staying in touch with my sphere of influence, my sales team. So 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, I was following up behind the marketing. Just, hey, did you get the invitation to the event? I hope you can make it. Did you get the report? Do you have any questions about what's going on in the real estate market? And then 5 hours a day was me. I was being the doctor, doing the rounds, looking at the data, making sure I knew everything that was going on with my client, because part of the system is that you get a report on that every morning, right? 6 in the morning, you get an email. So I would just check in with my clients very regularly. They knew I was there. They knew I knew what was going on, right? That my client service managers knew to set me up as the hero when good things happen. Like if we help them buy a house and the appraisal comes in high, they knew, hey, let's let Mike make this call, right? Because that's part of the system. So when you have time to build your sphere of influence, your sales team, I think of it as a garden of plants that you're planting and watering and taking care of. You know, I felt like every day I just took a walk in the garden, said hi to all my plants that were wonderful, wonderful people. Still friends with almost all of them to this day. I haven't sold for 3 or 4 years now, but great people. And I had really great systems and support. So I was able to use the rest of that time to work on growing Relevate. So now, can everybody do it in 15 hours a week? Well, first we got to have some time to build that sales team.
Sure.
Right. But the more time you spend building it, the more months and years that go by, the more responsive that sales team becomes because you've earned their trust, right? You don't have to work near as hard.
What is the size of a sales team? Like when, again,
you don't want to get more than about 300.
300.
300 is the biggest you want to get, because beyond that, you really can't have relationships with more than about 300 people that are authentic relationships.
Right.
So what you want to do is my sales team grew. When I got referrals, they became members of my sales team, right? So I remember me and Ashley Gronwald, who was one of our more productive agents ever here. She and I would sit down and we'd say, let's prune our database. And we'd go through and just remove 50 people each, because we just say, who do we click with the least? Who seems the least excited to talk to us when we call? And it got to the point where we only had people in there that really liked when we called, and we really liked talking to them. And so it made it more pleasant and much more responsive as well. I remember at one point I had 60 people out of the 300 that I just felt nervous about. And I thought it was just me, but apparently everybody I've talked to now, they say, yeah, there's people I feel awkward around. Well, I felt awkward around these people. I didn't want to call them. I felt like a doofus when I called them. And I just said, I'm gonna get rid of these people. And then I said, I'm going to put more people like me that are my type, that I really click with. And so, Joe, I signed up for like 10 Bible studies at my church. I go one in the morning and one in the afternoon. Those are my people. And I would meet them, during the Bible study, and I got to know them, and they became part of my sales team. And then I just got a database that was even more enjoyable because it was more people that I click with, naturally.
Is there an agent that would struggle in this type of environment?
Yeah, I think not all agents want to go out there and meet people and take that risk of being rejected. I think that's why a lot of agents will go to a company that provides leads, because they don't want to go get the leads. They want to more have the leads come to them. But the cost you pay for those is that those people don't know you. and you're dealing with strangers, and you're going to have to sell a lot more. Your closing ratio is going to be a lot lower. You're going to have people stand you up and lie to you. I remember, Joe, I'll tell you what happened to me when I bought leads. I tried everything in my first 6 months, and I bought leads, and I remember helping this person for 4 or 5 months to help them buy a house, showing them houses, looking up things for them. And they kind of ghosted me. I got a call out of the blue. The person was nice enough to call me and say, "Hey, Mike, I just want to let you know I got a house." Like, I was supposed to be happy for them because they bought a house with a different agent after I did all this to help them. And I was like, man, I don't want to buy leads anymore. This is awful. So yeah, it stinks.
Yeah.
So that's why I tell people, look, if you don't want to build a sphere of influence, a sales team, a community of people, and be intentional about asking them to recommend you to their friends and family and coworkers and neighbors and stay up with them and market. If you don't want to do real estate that way, I recommend doing a different business, doing a different industry, a different profession, because it's just tough. It's just really getting leads seems easier, but it's really not. And as a broker owner, this is my attitude about it, is that when you're raising kids, if you want them to be healthy, are you going to give them candy or are you going to give them meat and vegetables, right? You're going to give them meat and vegetables, and it might, they probably would rather have the candy, but you give them meat and vegetables, that's going to make them healthy. I think giving leads to agents is sort of like giving them candy because you get addicted to it. And you just focus on that. And you don't do the things that are going to grow your own business. And I would say if you did a statistical study of people who start in this business with a firm or a team that gives them leads, I think a lot of those agents aren't going to be here long term because they're not learning any skills that help them build their own business and have their own lead source. So they're not having to pay extraordinarily high amounts of time and money for those leads. And so they don't have to talk to 30 people to close one. And they get habits that are hard to break. And so I encourage agents all the time not to go that direction, but I think the majority of agents do. And it's hard to get out of it once you're in it. It's like you're addicted. It's hard to break it.
Yeah, there's a million ways to make money in this business. Certainly some are better than others, and certainly some are more efficient. And I think you've really cracked the code on efficiencies. And your processes really are tight. And I do know agents that thrive in that. And I do know agents that couldn't. And I'm sure you've met both of them as well. And the ones that do are still there.
Yeah, I think real estate as a profession isn't right for everybody.
That's for sure.
What we're trying to do is just and I would say there's no easy way to be successful in real estate. I do think there are ways that are more productive to get you where you really want to go, for sure. What I mean is that it's just proven that if what you want to do is make the maximum income and you want to have control of your time and work-life balance, we've got a model that has proven to lead to those results very predictably, right? Excellent. I'm not saying it's perfect. It can always be continually improved, but it does work.
Great.
It's not for everybody, like you said. It's for the people that want to work this way.
Yeah. Mike, thank you so much for your time on this. Your model is very enlightening. It's very unique, and all the time and the money that you put into it is certainly your agents there are thriving, which is fantastic.
Now, if you could, Joe, discover and teach a proven path to be good at pickleball, I'm going to come over and join that. Okay, you teach me.
I haven't figured that one out.
Okay, well, when you do, let me know. I'm in.
Thanks so much, Mike. Hey, viewers, subscribe. Thank you. Hit the bell. We'll be bringing you some fantastic Mike brought to you today over and over again. So stay tuned. Be your best. Have fun.